1 year ago, Hurricane Helene brought flooding rain to the mountains of East Tennessee and western North Carolina. Dozens of people were killed in both states, homes destroyed, lives changed forever, businesses flooded, and patients rescued from the top of a hospital.
62 is my number on the roof. I have 62 individuals. Some are patients, some are critical.
Interstates washed out, construction impacting the daily lives of people for months who live in Unicoi County.
Even if it's just raking, stuff like that, there's still lots of that kind of stuff to be done, and just, you know, enjoy the beauty of the area because it's still there, and there's a reason they call this Valley Beautiful.
We saw workers trapped at a plastic company as the waters rose. 6 workers died. A state investigation cleared managers of any wrongdoing. People who worked there claimed as the water was rising, they weren't allowed to leave.
If the right thing had been done, and an hour even sooner, they had been discharged to go home, come back the next day, hey, we'll pick up the production again.
We're looking back at these eyewitness accounts of the storm and more stories of how Helene changed life in Unicoi County. It was a chaotic scene here at a hospital in Unicoi County as patients sought refuge on top of that hospital behind me. The floodwaters had surrounded it and there was no way off except by helicopter. I'm John Becker, and we are revisiting that rescue after Hurricane Helene and many other stories here in this community of about 18,000. First, though, let's revisit that storm that roared ashore in Florida, known as Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene made landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida on September 24th as a Category 4 storm. We started seeing the extreme winds, flooding, and tornadoes across Appalachia 3 days later on September 27th, and by the 28th, many areas were underwater. That includes Cocke County, Greene County, and Unicoi County in upper East Tennessee, as well as Asheville, North Carolina, and surrounding areas of the mountains of western North Carolina. Representatives say Hurricane Helene and its aftermath killed close to 250 people. Of those, 108 were in North Carolina, 17 in the state of Tennessee.
We are in a state of emergency. The roads are impassable.
911 calls from Unicoi County Dispatch reveal moments when floodwaters from Hurricane Helene reached this area. Several feet of water left some neighbors and first responders stranded and calling for backup. Patients and staff at Unicoi County Hospital had to be rescued from the rooftop by helicopter. 911 dispatchers in this county were among the first to realize this was a disaster like no one had seen in modern history. For more on those 911 calls and the initial response, here is 10 News reporter Maria Guzman.
62 is my number on the roof. I have 62 individuals. Some are patients, some are critical. So whatever we can do here, help me out. Copy, Chief, 62.
Unicoi County 911 Director Alora Oler-Wyatt was one of several dispatchers working the phones when Hurricane Helene brought torrential rainfall to the mountainous region.
Unicoi County 911.
She was at the center when her fellow first responders called for backup from the Unicoi County Hospital roof.
But we'll be okay. We'll get them out. Copy that, Chief.
They went straight into harm's way, just like any other field unit would.
We'll work the critical ones out first, and then we'll get everybody else.
Hearing the fear and knowing I couldn't do anything else was hard. Most of them on that roof are a part of my 911 board.
This is just one of hundreds of dispatch calls Alora's unit responded to that day in September.
There is a house that's in the middle of that river, and the people can't get out.
But they are the first responders. Without them, you would not get an officer. You would not get a paramedic.
According to the county, 9 dispatchers helped answer more than 200 calls in just one day.
Everything is flooded over here, and I would be very
We know we have a job to do, and if we break down, we can't do the job we need to do.
The calls ranged from rescues
We've been trapped in here in our house.
to the Army National Guard calling for backup.
Our truck got flooded. We bailed out.
Amidst the chaos and crises, there's one call that came with relief.
Just heads up, we're evacuating.
Floodwaters devastated Unicoi County Hospital. Leaders plan to rebuild and promise to do so, but 1 year later, that hospital remains empty. Unicoi County and the small town of Irwin over my shoulder sits just about 2 hours north of Knoxville. You see the hospital behind me serving this community for years. We're hearing from the CEO of that hospital about what it's meant to this community of 6,000 in Irwin and roughly 18,000 in Unicoi County. Here is reporter Sarah Ottman.
That's where all the rock was kind of taken out and came out through here, so it went right through the building then.
It's the county's only hospital, and for the past 10 months, it's been sitting empty, still covered in debris from Helene.
We had never experienced any flooding like that before. The water rose to within about 7 feet of the top of the hospital.
Flooding forced Ballad Health to close Unicoi County Hospital. The plan was to rebuild until a federal law made it impossible.
With the decline in reimbursement in the future, it makes it harder for us to continue to do projects like this one. So we were disappointed.
The new law, nicknamed the Big Beautiful Bill, tightens rules on how states fund rural hospitals through Medicaid. Ballad Health says those changes could cost their system up to $150 million over 5 years, making the hospital's rebuild financially unstable.
We want to rebuild this hospital, but we have to make sure it's financially viable going forward.
Without changes made to the legislation, the project remains in limbo. For now, an urgent care center is filling the gap.
I've heard many patients are thankful, even though we're limited in what we can do here, they are very thankful to have this facility open so that they can keep locally.
X-ray specialist Samuel Bradley, like many others, worked at Unicoi Hospital before the floods. He says the need for a new building is clear.
I think it's imperative to have it here because we were quite busy, first of all. There's a big need here for the hospital to be here.
Leaders in this community are pushing members of Congress to help rebuild the hospital behind me. But in the meantime, they needed to fill a void, at least with urgent care. Here is 10 News anchor Sam Perez with that story.
It's been pitiful.
Shirley Lane has seen the devastation from Hurricane Helene firsthand.
I've seen a lot of people had an aunt and uncle that lost everything.
She works as a clerk at a pharmacy in Irwin, just 5 minutes away from the Unicoi County Hospital, where patients evacuated and were airlifted from the roof after it was submerged by floodwaters during Hurricane Helene.
A lot of our patients that come here was on the top of the hospital and had to be recovered and had to be rescued.
But now, hospital workers have joined other healthcare providers to open an urgent care facility.
I think it's a good thing because we have a lot of sickness right now with the colds and the flus.
Ballad Health Urgent Care is open 24/7.
We've seen a lot of people come in here, and if they don't have somewhere to go in the community, then a lot of them are elderly and can't make it to the urgent cares in Johnson City or the hospital, so I think it's a big necessity.
A lot of people do depend on this area right here coming from North Carolina side. They come over the mountain and they actually depend on this area a lot because there's not much between here and Asheville.
Nikki Wart saw that devastation. She works as the general manager of a gas station right next door to the hospital.
It was actually very scary. We were watching the water rise.
While her store is back up and running after 7 weeks of cleaning, the hospital nearby is still closed, but she hopes it won't be shut down forever.
The hope right now is that they stay in Unicoi as close to North Carolina as possible.
At last check, hospital administrators suggested it may take close to $30 million to rebuild the hospital behind me. From that key piece of infrastructure to others, this storm did widespread damage in this county. Floodwaters from Hurricane Helene washed out part of I-26 over the Nolichucky River. The twin-span bridges were near Exit 40, and the Tennessee Department of Transportation built a temporary bridge about a month after the storm to allow traffic to use one lane in each direction. I-26, as you can see, is back open over my shoulder. For more on how critical this highway is to the communities in Northeast Tennessee, here is 10 News reporter Emily Crabtree.
When Hurricane Helene hit Erwin, Tennessee last September, this river behind me, the Nolichucky, actually came up over this bridge and damaged the road on it. Now, nearly a year later, things on the road are almost fully operational.
Kenneth Percival says he was driving on the I-26 bridge when the river started overflowing.
I mean, it's hard to believe, but the water here ended up coming up over the bridge, and I was driving to work that morning as the water was starting to come over the guardrails. There was a couple of inches of water on the bridge, and then 30, 40 minutes later, the interstate was closed down.
Percival and his family live right off the interstate, so when traffic was diverted to surface streets, things got a little noisy. With industry and shift changes, 4 o'clock in the morning, 11 p.m. at night, 10 p.m. It was, we'll just say, exhausting. And while he's glad the streets are quieter, he's more excited about what this means for Erwin's rebuilding progress.
You know, the App Trail drops right here in town, so you have those southbound hikers that come through. So there's a lot of traffic that incurs in this area this time of year, so it is a great time for it to open back up.
But even though the town is heading in the right direction, they aren't completely out of the woods yet, and help is still needed.
Even if it's just raking, stuff like that, there's still lots of that kind of stuff to be done, and just, enjoy the beauty of the area, because it's still there, and there's a reason they call this Valley Beautiful.
As Kenneth mentioned, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done in Unicoi County, but he says that without volunteer groups and the people of Erwin, they wouldn't be nearly as close to that goal as where they are now.
The official reopening of I-26 happened back on September 15th. Significant for state road crews because there were close to 49 projects after the storm they needed to finish, and this is one of the last they completed before the year mark to this storm. Another symbol of the cost of this historic storm were the 6 lives lost at a plastics plant in Erwin. Employees say they weren't given enough time to get out. A state report cleared the owners and managers of any wrongdoing. A lawyer for some of the victims says state investigators got it wrong. The company maintains managers got it right and gave workers plenty of warning before the high water hit. Libby Cunningham has more on the claims and counterclaims.
This is not some far-fetched story of people just wanting to be there while this historic storm is happening. They were made to wait because of why they were there to begin with.
Attorney Greg Coleman represents several families who had loved ones hurt or killed when floodwaters rushed the Impact Plastics factory in Erwin during Hurricane Helene. When we sat down, we went line by line through some of the findings of the state's investigation into what happened there. The state says Impact Plastics isn't responsible for workers who died in the flooding. They gave them enough time to safely exit the property, didn't threaten to fire them if they left, and couldn't determine why people stayed on the property despite being told to leave for their own safety. Coleman says Tosha's got it wrong, and the bottom line is his clients and other witnesses he's talked to say they didn't have enough time to leave and shouldn't have been at work that morning in the first place.
If the right thing had been done, and an hour even sooner, they had been discharged to go home, come back the next day, hey, we'll pick up the production again, we'll make up whatever we've lost, but that was not done.
Attorneys for Impact Plastics agree with Tosha's findings, and Coleman says there are some parts of it he believes are accurate as well.
But there are several things we do agree with. It didn't happen on company property, the actual death itself and those sorts of things. It is true there were no safety plans, nothing that was implemented, nothing that was executed.
1 year after the historic storm and those deaths, at least one family has filed a civil lawsuit. Again, workers say they only escaped that high water thanks in part to help from neighboring businesses. But also, again, it's important to note the state cleared the managers and company of any wrongdoing. Libby Cunningham also spent some time in this community reporting with people who have been key to the recovery efforts. And one of those people is the manager of a radio station in town. They are the eyes and ears of what's happening here after the storm. Here she is again from Unicoi County.
It's hard to imagine the land that Maria True's radio station was on went from looking like this to looking like this. It's been more than 2 months since Hurricane Helene flooded the Nolichucky River and swept away the home base for jet broadcasting. Maria says sometimes she can't believe it either.
Because I'll think, oh, where is that little Christmas angel that I always used? Oh, it was at the station. Where's my father's desk? Where's the transmitters? It's very triggering to come down here and see this.
1420 WEMB Sports Radio and Livewire 103.9 WXIS are Irwin's only locally owned radio stations. They carry Unicoi County sports, and Helene hasn't stopped that. WXIS is back on the radio, and WEMB is streaming and working to get back on the air.
Thankfully, because of WBIR, some of the listeners reached out to me, and also local radio station owners have reached out to me and have helped get the stations back up and running.
She says she isn't letting the storm stop her from helping her hometown.
I did go on to our social media and did live feeds. I let people know where to get the water, where to get shelter, where to get hay, where to get free food, and did a lot of live interviews to let people know what was accessible to them, and I want to continue to do that.
She says it's not easy to come back and see the devastation, but she sees the blessing in being able to continue to broadcast.
But then I have to remember, this is a radio station and business. I'm grateful to have it on air. But there's people out here without septic tanks still, without water, that have to drive hours just to get to a job that they used to get to in 15 minutes.
We have a link to stream some of those stations right now at WBIR.com. Again, this community has about 6,000 people in the town of Irwin and lots of students looking for a place to go back to school. The return of school in Unicoi County meant a little more this year. They have almost 100 students and teachers, and they suffered lots of damage in Helene. It forced an emergency move to middle school, but now the elementary school is back. And 10 News reporter Olivia Daig takes us to opening day at Temple Hill.
It's 10 months in the making.
Coming back today, it was lots of smiles, lots of hugs. It just really felt good to be home.
This year at Temple Hill Elementary,
It's gonna be a great day.
the first day of school is a homecoming.
When the kids got in and saw that the building was pretty much like we left it, I think that put ease on them because they have seen the devastation as you drive by the river.
The school nestled in the mountains is full of history.
I went to Temple Hill as a child, so it was like a big deal for my kid to go here.
Kelsey Shelton said it meant the world to drop her 6-year-old back here after her kindergarten year was interrupted on September 27th.
Like it was just another day, and then when we woke up, everything was different. We were stuck at the house for 2 days.
It's a fuzzy story in the eyes of a first grader.
Do you remember what happened last year? Why you had to move to the big kid school?
Had the flood.
Do you remember that? Can you tell me anything about it?
It damaged just 4.
But it's a vivid memory for many.
Walk me kind of through that day.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously ended up being a really tough day. But
John English is the director of Unicoi County Schools.
my first thought was our students, our families, our staff, our school on that end of the county, Temple Hill. And, you know, at first I was hearing things saying it's gone.
But the school didn't wash away. Instead, pipes burst, flooding the gym floor, cafeteria floor, and ruining the electrical system.
A good thing to see that, okay, we didn't lose this school and we can fix what was damaged.
With roads and bridges cut off, there was a feeling of isolation.
And I'm used to being in the mountains, but it's different when you're actually stuck there.
It was teachers and school staff who did head counts, an attempt to lay eyes on every child.
You know, they were thrilled to see us because they were scared. You know, even the houses that weren't affected, it still affected us.
3 weeks later, kindergartners and 8th graders learned under the same roof for a year at the middle school.
She loved the middle school because of the older kids, but it was just different because I was worried about this school.
At this little school in the mountains, healing is still happening every day. Crystal Edney sees it in her own classroom.
If it was getting ready to rain or it started raining, you would see them tense up and they would say, is it going to flood? Is it going to flood outside?
5 families at Temple Hill lost their homes and others lost family.
There were so many facets. We were dealing with loss of loved ones, not knowing where loved ones were, not being able to communicate.
As students walk back into their classrooms, things outside look different.
Well, I mean, logistically, things have changed, you know, routes and roads and bridges.
But Temple Hill proved it was strong enough to weather the storm.
And you come out of it stronger, you know, and I think Unicoi County is stronger than it was before.
And families say it's good to be back.
It's pretty much like home. I can't really explain it any other way.
Even with no power, no running water, Temple Hill became a central heartbeat for this community after the storm, serving as a donation hub for people coming in to volunteer supplies as well as their time. Finding a place to live, though, right after the storm hasn't been easy for some. Some people we spoke to say they need a place to permanently call home, and that is still hard to find.
You get deep into these mountains where we've worked, and they're now just scattered with campers.
Some of the help for people in Unicoi County came from state lawmakers. They held a special session where they devoted almost $500 million to Hurricane Helene relief. Some lawmakers did question why it took so long, 4 months, to introduce that legislation in special session. We've heard from victims in Greene, Cock, and Unicoi counties about the delay. Again, many still living in campers and tents, trying to get by while they wait for a new permanent home. Business owners also say they suffered problems claiming flood insurance and need more support and guidance from lawmakers. We did see even more help, more than $4 million in grants to 3 companies in the community of Irwin to help with the recovery. That money was supposed to cover the cost to preserve more than 166 jobs in the city and retain and retrain employees. During Helene, part of the entire industrial park washed away, and state leaders did say a grant of this nature marks a first. People in this community and across the state also took time to recognize the heroes in this storm. The state highway crews, the first responders, all the people who jumped at the chance to help their neighbors right after the floodwaters hit.
At that point, we knew that we were safe for the most part because we had already seen the helicopter coming through, kind of circling. So we kind of knew like they seen us. We felt better about it.
Aerial rescue teams with a state highway patrol used a helicopter to save 18 people from a barn roof. Just one example of the helicopter rescues here in Unicoi County right after the floodwaters hit. The Tennessee Army National Guard, a big part of that rescue effort as well. We did see neighbors helping neighbors, and we want to pay tribute to one of the lives lost in the storm. One of those neighbors died trying to help others. For more on his story and the tributes, here is reporter Janya Nordello.
It's nice. It helps in some way to know, and to know that other people appreciate him and that they see his sacrifice. It eases the pain of his death, I guess, in some way.
Johnny Peterson was working at Impact Plastics when the floods hit. While trying to leave, he realized some of his co-workers were trapped by the rising water, and in an act of heroism, Johnny went back to help get them to safety.
The things that he did that day impacted not only that day, but the recovery as well.
Despite Johnny trying to help, the force of the Nolichucky River was too strong, and Johnny, along with 5 other employees, died. To honor his noble act, Tennessee State Representative Renee Jones, along with other lawmakers, signed a proclamation.
It's voted on in the House and the Senate, and then signed by both the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker of the House, and the Governor.
Jones telling me this was especially meaningful because she knew Johnny since high school.
He was just such a sweet, kind kid, and then to know that that he continued, he did not change. He was the same person as a kid as he was as an adult, and that was just who he was, the acts he did that day.
Members of the community, along with Johnny's family, and even family members of other flood victims, came to honor his memory.
It's just hard to talk about it. It's hard to know that what words would mean anything. It's just, I think we just showed them we love them, and I hope that this showed them some love.
Johnny's daughter, Alexa Peterson, tells me her dad was a humble man, and his goal was always to try and help others.
He wasn't very extravagant. I don't know that he would have felt super comfortable if he had been here, but I think he would have felt proud to have been recognized for what he did.
You can read more about the victims of this storm and their stories right now at WBIR.com. And we want to shift back to one of the big challenges in the weeks and months after this storm, and that was finding housing. Here is reporter Caleb Perney with more on that challenge.
This small group has been working for months to make sure a Unicoi County woman will have a permanent home after Helene. These pictures show the aftermath. Her home and car destroyed when a landslide with massive trees tore through it. They say she's not the only one still displaced.
There's thousands of people still living in campers. And so to express the need is going to be all those thousands of people. And it's not just East Tennessee. I mean, Western North Carolina, you get deep into these mountains where we've worked, and they're now just scattered with campers.
Their group, Appalachian United Initiative, is just 6 strong. They originally volunteered with a national organization in the days after the storm, but began their own group when others began to return home.
I want respect and honor for our community and to be able to help them to get back to a place of being proud to live here again. And you can't do that if you're barely able to survive.
They're trying to raise awareness of the need that remains in rural areas like this. In many cases, they say people aren't reaching out for help, even when they desperately need it.
We live in a community of, pull up your bootstraps, suck it up, buttercup, and keep on going. And a lot of times people don't come and ask for help because they just feel like they're going to figure it out.
We found people living in cars, trucks, that just did not, they either didn't have insurance or it didn't pay, and they did not want to be a burden.
Again, volunteers from hundreds, even thousands of miles away came to help the people of Unicoi County recover. And it was time, but also money that helped this community rebuild. And it wasn't just people benefiting from that generosity, it was animals too.
She looked very healthy when she got here. Come to find out, that was just because she was pregnant.
We'll share more on the smallest victims of this storm and how those animals became symbols of hope in the recovery. A big part of the recovery effort is happening in the mountains behind us. This is a central hub for the Appalachian Trail. That classic trail stretches more than 2,000 miles from Georgia to Maine, and almost a third of it was damaged or destroyed by Hurricane Helene. Rebuilding it won't be easy, and for more on that effort, here is visual storyteller Jillian Taylor.
At Cherry Gap along the Tennessee-North Carolina border, volunteers are hard at work, but they can't help getting distracted.
Whoa, I see a bunch of red flowers down there. What are those?
By the rocks, the critters, the flowers.
It's Monarda, mountain mint.
Mountain mint, huh?
It's a stunning place to work.
Like, it's unbelievable. It's really special. So it's why seeing what happened after Helene hurts.
Hurricane Helene closed 430 miles of the Appalachian Trail.
Hello!
The volunteers are bringing it back step by step, clearing down trees.
1, 2, 3.
Shaving logs. Moving dirt.
We have to fill in a giant hole in the trail. How long is this hole? 20 feet?
At least. Maybe
yeah, 25 feet or so of trail that's dug out by this huge windfall.
Most of the volunteers say the work is a joy.
And one of the best things about this is there's no Wi-Fi and no cell signal. None. It's bliss. Total bliss. And because I'm a university administrator and get like over 500 emails a day, you just can't understand how special that really is.
As damaged as these woods are, to me they are still beautiful.
Crew leader Matt Perinaud hiked this trail years ago, but he didn't even recognize the trail when he returned.
Said, oh, this can't be it. and because it looks completely different. It was all wooded.
It's a massive job, but one the Appalachian Trail Conservancy is ready for, using a model that's drawn global interest.
It's really nice to see everybody, working together, communicating.
Kumi Azaiwa manages a 1,000-kilometer trail in Japan, where typhoons can cause similar damage.
Sometimes we have a lot of fallen trees. I think this time is really good timing for me.
She's here alongside 2 other Japanese trail professionals to help and to learn about how to engage volunteers in recovery efforts. Because for many, these woods, this earth is priceless, something they will sacrifice to protect.
To me, this is home. It's my home away from home.
Leaders with the Appalachian Trail Conservancy expect the repairs could take years, but you can join that effort by going to appalachiantrail.org. Another twist for hikers on the trail is this. How do you get across the Nolichucky? The bridge over it in Irwin collapsed, leaving hikers with an hours-long detour across it. How did they get by? Well, a rafting company stepped in to help, and here is reporter Emily Crabtree with more on their efforts.
When Hurricane Helene hit Irwin, it washed out the path across the Nolichucky River for the Appalachian Trail hikers, so they had to find another way.
When they rerouted it through Irwin, it added hours of walking along a road full of dump trucks and dust and debris, and everyone felt it wasn't safe.
That's why Wahoo's Rafting Company, Uncle Johnny's Hostel, and the Appalachian Trail Conservancy teamed up to ferry hikers across.
We started about 2 weeks ago, and we were getting 1 or 2 hikers a day, and we're getting up to, in the teens.
And they're expecting many more. Around 3,000 people just kicked off their hikes. And raft guides say this partnership benefits more than just the hikers.
It's a really awesome collaboration because the raft guides are helping the hikers, and the hikers are in turn helping the raft guides have jobs.
That rafting company says it will keep doing what it needs to do right up through rafting season in 2026, and they hope it encourages more people to come out and join them on what is a river that has seen lots of change in the last several months. Now we want to return to those symbols of hope for this community and take you to Unicoi County Dispatch Center. Reporter Maria Guzman joins us with more on some emotional help coming from an unlikely place.
At the Unicoi County Dispatch Center.
Unicoi County 911.
These wagging tails and furry friends will be the first to welcome you in.
So this is Stella.
A terrier mixed dog, Stella was found by strangers after Hurricane Helene flooded the mountain community.
We don't know how old she is, what breeds she is. She's just 100% good girl.
And she is indeed a good girl. Stella is a sense of counseling for dispatchers during tense moments.
And I've actually had dispatchers, they'll come in and they want to talk about something heavy, so they go over and sit and pet Stella while they talk about that thing. I think it helps them open up.
Stella. I know. Little did the team know the bundle of surprises Stella was carrying.
She looked very healthy when she got here. Come to find out, that was just because she was pregnant.
Stella went into labor on Black Friday. The unit expected 5 puppies, but it turned out to be more.
So in about 45 minutes, she had 7 puppies.
They're almost a month old, and their days consist of more than enough love and affection from first responders.
If any agencies, 911 especially, are on the fence about getting a dog, just do it. Just do it. It really helps.
As you can imagine, a lot of the dispatchers ended up adopting those animals. Stella, a symbol in the dispatch center herself of the recovery efforts and how they endured this storm. We also asked for your help to help the people of Unicoi County in some of the hardest times. And through your generosity and hope for the holidays, our toy drive collected more than 2,000 toys going to children of the storm throughout the holidays. They were delivered to children in Unicoi, Greene, and Cocke counties. Here's one school leader in Unicoi County with more on the impact.
There was a lot of trauma. Like you said, a lot of kids had never seen anything like this in their lifetime and may never again, probably won't, hopefully. And so, it was a tough thing, but we certainly had a lot of kids and families that came in and took advantage of the counseling that was available.
Just one more symbol of your generosity in helping people cope with the aftermath of this storm. Back here along the banks of the Nolichucky River, this river and its historic flooding changed the landscape here forever. It changed the people of this community forever. But we have also seen resilience in Unicoi County and the small town of Irwin. Our pledge to you is we will continue sharing those stories as we approach the one-year mark of Hurricane Helene. We thank you for watching. I'm John Becker reporting from Unicoi County.